Hey guys, it's LEGO Boy Z3. This is my review of the X-Man Volt Square-1. So this right here is the newest Square-1 from X-Man Design. So I got this cube from Speed Cube Shop for $10. I got it from them at a competition, but it is actually considerably cheaper than other cubing stores. This cube comes in at about 56 millimeters. This is it compared to a Volk. This is it compared to the old Chi-Yi Square-1. So you can tell that it is the slightest bit bigger than the original Chi-Yi Square-1, which came in at about 55 millimeters. By the way, this is how far I've gotten on the solve on it, almost to cube shape. And this cube comes in at about 54 millimeters on the other axis. It comes in what I assume are just the standard Chi-Yi or X-Man shades, and I assume the stickerless version will have similar shades to their other stickerless puzzles, and the sticker quality is quite good. I believe this cube did come slightly lubricated, but since then I've replaced that with my own combination of mostly lubrical silk and other weights of cubical silicone lube. Also, the cube did come pretty tight, but that's pretty easy to fix by simply popping the cap off and unscrewing this single screw. You can tell on the opposite side here that they have improved their mechanism of securing the screw in on the other side, so I assume this won't strip as easily as the old Chi-Yi Square-1 did. Also, the screw is a lot longer down there, so that allows you to loosen it a lot more without any chance of the screw coming off or stripping or anything like that, which helps alleviate that problem a lot. Also, this cube comes incredibly fast, especially after loosening it a little bit, which you kind of need to do to unlock that extra performance. It's just insane. This is after lubing it a little bit with heavy lube, just to make it slow down a little bit, but you can tell that it's still super fast. I put even more heavy lube in these top and bottom layers just to make them more controllable when you're doing smaller turns like this, and that's definitely needed for this cube. If you just keep it stock, it'll be way too fast and you'll probably tend to overshoot a lot, especially if you're an inaccurate turner. Now, although it did come nice and fast, the feeling when you first turn it is kind of awkward. I mentioned that in my unboxing video. There's just something that didn't really feel right about it. And the thing that I've done to fix that since then is I actually replaced the spring. And so if you look inside where the screw is, there's a spring there, and that helps keep the tension when you're pulling the layer apart like this. And what you generally would do is replace that spring with one of them that comes in the Cube Twist Square-1, which is what I did in my Chi-Yi Square-1, the original one up here, and it's what I did in this one. So if you do have this cube, I would recommend doing the spring swap. It just makes the cube feel a lot less awkward and a lot better to turn. It just kind of makes it flow nicer. One other thing about this cube though, compared to the Chi-Yi, is that the corners just feel very sharp, which kind of adds to that awkward feeling starting off. And so yeah, it's kind of like an old Zante or something like that. And even when you're turning the cube, you can kind of feel that. It just kind of makes the inside of it feel like blocky, kind of bumpy-ish. And it just doesn't quite have the same fluid feel as the Chi-Yi Square-1. This one additionally is a lot smoother when you're turning these layers, which is just part of the plastic, while this one is a lot just faster and kind of rough. But personally, I do tend to prefer less smooth cubes, so I guess that's good for me. Aside from all that, the cube is pretty stable when you're turning. It doesn't feel like it's ever gonna pop. It never has popped on me, and that's partly due to the mechanism inside. But adding to that awkward and kind of sharp feeling on the inside, this cube does lock up quite a bit. You can tell there, just doing turns. It just doesn't corner cut like perfectly. I mean, the corner cutting on this axis is really good, just like on the Chi-Yi, but it is a little bit lacking on this axis. I mean, the Chi-Yi isn't that good at this kind of corner cutting either, but this one just seems to lock up a little bit more when you're turning it. So overall, I'd call this cube's turning a lot faster than the Chi-Yi, which is kind of a good thing because you can customize it however you want with the lube without slowing it down, and a little bit less smooth. And so those are both things that I definitely do like in this cube. The only downside is that kind of weird feeling when you're turning it, just kind of not right, it kind of locks up a little bit. But overall, I do prefer this one a little bit to the Chi-Yi. As for the mechanism, I'm not going to really take it apart, but you can tell that the inner layer is a lot bigger on this cube because they're all kind of equal sized, and so that can help prevent catching on your thumb, but that's not really something I've ever noticed on the Chi-Yi to be a problem. So yeah, it's just fine. It could make a difference for some people, and if you actually do take it apart, you can tell that there are some anti-pop mechanisms in this cube that aren't present in this cube. This cube does actually pop very occasionally, but this one has never popped on me, even though it is looser. So overall, again, if you were to compare the turning of these two cubes, I say that they're pretty similar in terms of performance, like the corner cutting and things like that. This one does catch and lock up a little bit more than the Chi-Yi. This one is definitely a little bit more fluid compared to this one. But personally, I do prefer this cube due to just the fast turning. It's basically just frictionless on the inside. There's nothing holding it back, making it smooth or anything. It's just no friction on the inside, which is a feeling that I do really like. So if you do think that you'd really like that feeling, or if you just don't have a good Square-1, then I would recommend going with this one. But if you already have a Chi-Yi and you're happy with it, or you just really like smooth and kind of fluid feeling turns, and you wouldn't really like the catching or locking up of this one, then I would probably just stick with the Chi because it is pretty equal in performance. Again, I got this cube from Speed Cube Shop for $10, which is pretty cheap for a good Square-1, and that's pretty much it for this video. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!